Illinois, preseason ranked number 12 coming into this year. Last year they went 10-3 under Coach Brett. I will not try and pronounce his last name due to previous misfires, but Coach Brett. They went 10-3 and return a ton of their production from last year, leading them to that number 12 overall preseason ranking. The biggest piece they bring back probably is their QB Luke Altmaier, as well as their whole offensive line they bring back from their previous seasons. So first off, JP, thoughts on Luke Altmaier? I know he's a Starkville kid, spent some time at Ole Miss, but he left. So does that give him brownie points in your eyes, or once a rebel, always a rebel?
I don't really care about that, to be honest.
Fair.
It really holds no impact at that point. Like, I don't have resentment for A.J. Brown necessarily, because he went to Starkville High, so Starkville kid.
Gotcha. I'm tracking now.
That's not his fault. It's probably not Luke's fault.
No.
It's probably more of the system we ran when Luke was a potential recruit, and then in the A.J. Brown case, it's Joe Moorhead's fault. So,
Yeah.
Luke is good. He's a talented kid. One of your notes on there is handles the RPO scheme really well for Illinois. Could not agree more. He's really talented at that. He's got a lot of moxie, plays with a good amount of confidence for a guy who's not necessarily like off the charts talented. He can run a little bit, but that's not necessarily a strong suit. He's more of a pocket passer. For him and for Illinois this season, it's a question of how he plays. And some of their big games, which they've got, almost all of them are in the first half of the season.
Sure.
We'll see how he can play in those kind of scenarios. How does he play against, elite defense like Ohio State? That's going to be an interesting game this year. And then for him and for Illinois in the Fighting Illini, he needs to just be consistent. Like, he just needs to be someone who doesn't turn the ball over like he did last year. 22 touchdowns, 6 picks. Someone that can move the offense, lead a scoring drive, once a quarter, and they're going to be in a good spot because this is a team that's going to rely on their defense and slowing the clock down and really trying to drain each possession and ball control football, as we call it. So Luke has the keys to do that, and he has the talent to do that. So I like him as a quarterback, and I think he fits the Illini really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect because, like you said, they're going to look to just kind of play good defense, slow down the game, because they know they don't necessarily have the talent of the big dogs in this conference. So you don't really want to get into a boat race against those guys. So they just kind of have to play their game, and he does that perfectly. I mentioned they have tons of continuity, but they did lose a couple key pieces. Josh McCray is one of them. He's was their leading rusher last year. I actually had him in fantasy, but he transferred out to Georgia, so he's joining the SEC. And then their two leading receivers that combined for about 1,600 receiving yards last season, they're both leaving in Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin. So the skill positions, there's going to be some newer faces. Look out for Hudson Clement. He's transferring in from West Virginia. Had 741 receiving yards and 5 TDs there last year, and just a contested catch machine. Could become one of Luke Altmaier's favorite targets. Biggest question I have for them this season is they're getting some hype. I've mentioned multiple times, they're number 12 in the AP poll preseason. Is there any world where y'all see them really competing with Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, knocking off, Ohio State at home, for example, week 7 or something like that? Or do you think they're pretty firmly in the tier 2 of this conference?
I could see them. Hold on just a sec. Sorry.
You're good?
I could see them putting together an upset over an Ohio State. Maybe they get them at home. That's a advantage they have. But I don't see them putting together a season long that kind of success. I mean, they've got two other big Big Ten matchups against USC, who a lot of people are really high on. I'm pretty high on them right now. They have to go to Indiana. Indiana's coming off of their 11-win season last year. They got to go to Duke, who won 9 games. So they've got a tough schedule, and I could see them winning 2 of those games or 3 of those games. Maybe they get an upset over Ohio State, but I don't see them doing it consistently week in, week out. So I don't see them getting to a Big Ten championship, and I definitely don't see them winning a Big Ten championship. I still think they're below that tier of teams that I see winning a Big Ten championship.
That's fair.
I mean, they're completely – I think that being a conversation for them is kind of insane. Given the odds, they're ninth in odds to win the Big 12 or Big 10, and I think unfortunately for them, and I hope that's not the case this season, that the narrative is that being ranked this high to begin the season, the expectations then are, oh, you're a playoff team. This is not a playoff team. This is not a team that I think is going to be even in that top tier, like you say, Jack, of the Big Ten. I think not the worry, but the goal for them would be, can we be at the top of the tier 2 in the Big Ten? And if that's the case, then that's a successful season. They just don't have the talent to ever compete with Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and even Michigan. But can they compete with the teams in that tier 2? And they'll get the chances to do that. Can they compete with Indiana? Can they compete with USC, Washington, Wisconsin? How they play in those games is more so important to me than how they play week 7 against Ohio State. And week 5 is, I think, the biggest potential game of the season for them. Lincoln Riley's in a huge year for USC, and USC is more than likely going to be undefeated when they roll into Illinois in week 5. So that game is huge for me. Obviously, week 4 matters a ton with the rivalry.
Yeah.
But for Illinois, I am more concerned of, can they compete and separate themselves from the other teams in the tier 2. That's more important to me than if they can pull off an upset, which I don't think they can pull off an upset at all. I don't think this conference has a team that can do that. That's like I would have to go really bad from one of these tier 1 teams, specifically Ohio State, Penn State, or Oregon, to lose to one of these teams. I just, the talent discrepancy is just like a complete, utter separator. There's questions at the quarterback position for Oregon and Ohio State, sure, but the talent is just too great. I think they could play their worst game possible, and they're still winning by a field goal maybe against one of these teams. So I don't think that's necessarily something you need to look at for Illinois this season. But unfortunately, I think it will be how they're judged, because they're number 12 to start the season in the AP poll.
Yeah, one of the people's favorite things to do in the offseason is find the dark horse candidates from every conference, and this has become a popular one here. And I completely agree, JP. I don't really see it, and I do think it'll potentially hurt them down the stretch. We talk about expectations all the freaking time on this show.
Yeah.
And if your expectations get too high unfairly, then you can end up being disappointed by a season that you really shouldn't be disappointed for. They hit 10 wins last season. I honestly think they punched a little above their weight last season as well. If they could somehow find a way to hit double-digit wins again this season, it would be the first time in school history for them to do that. I personally don't see it. Can we get the over-under, because it's not on the sheet for some reason?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Preach Sanders. Because it's just a tough schedule. It actually could be a lot worse, to be honest, while it is a tough schedule, because you don't play Penn State or Oregon. But it is a front-loaded schedule. Duke out of conference is no slouch. So it's going to be tough for them to kind of live up to that number 12 ranking, but that's not really what they should be looking to do. What do we have?
It's 8.5. Before we hit that, I just wanted to, as Sven pointed out, they are just not the same as the other teams, and JP said it as far as talent goes, and I just want to give some of the numbers. It was actually really impressive what Brett Bielema was able to do last year with a team that was fairly untalented on paper. The last 3 recruiting classes being 7th, 15th, and then 13th this year. So middle of the Big Ten, they're definitely not even, as far as talent goes, JP, you talk about being at the top of the second tier. They're not recruiting like that team.
No.
So Brett Bielema has kind of put this team in a position to be at the top of that second tier with a not lower quality roster, but just a slightly less talented roster on paper. They finished 14th out of 18 in the transfer portal this year, so that's about where they were last year. So I will be interested to see if Bielema can continue to find that kind of success being at the top of that second tier with a less talented roster.
Yeah, you said 8.5.
Win total is 8.5.
What do you got, Sanders?
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I know JP said he doesn't think. Do you think that this team has the chance to get an upset over an Ohio State?
No, I don't think it's how they're built. I think they're a steady team, a consistent team. if someone is going to pull off an upset against an Ohio State or Oregon, and it is college football, like stuff happens. But just in general, it would have to be someone, a more high variance team, someone that has more talent, and that could just have a really good game. So I don't really see it either. 8.5 is tricky because I don't see them hitting double-digit wins again in the regular season. Well, I guess they were 9-3 in the regular season last year. But 8.5 is a good line. JP, what are your thoughts while I'm still thinking on it?
I've got them going under, just under. I wouldn't bet it. I'd struggle to bet it at least.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be my top bet. I think they go 8-4. I think that's completely manageable in the ballpark for them. But I see tough games, and I don't know if Illinois is good enough to win some of these tough games. They won a few of them last year. You think about the Nebraska game; that was a big win for them when both teams were undefeated and ranked early in the season. But I just don't see them consistently doing that. They're going to have to do that, playing at Duke, at Indiana, at Washington. I mean, at Wisconsin and Camp Randall is no easy cakewalk there. So I just don't see it getting to 9 wins in the regular season. I do see it, though. I think they could get to 9 wins with the bowl game win.
Sure.
But not with the regular season.
Yeah, I think I'll go under with you. 8 wins, too. It's a very soft under, a very slight under. And I don't feel confident about it, but that's just my lean.